Are you Bluetoothed in?
Oh, no, that's a good point.
Yeah, so we can be interrupted again.
Well, put your phone on silent. Make sure we're all talking loud for the gate.
Yeah, you really got to speak up.
Open that gate.
Good morning.
The compressor works well,
Bring that Bluetooth channel up real quick.
but the gate.
Magic in 3, 2, 1. Oh, snap.
Yo, that real music coming back in. Episode 2. What's the name of our podcast?
They can hear us.
It's the Votary podcast.
The Votary podcast.
We stayed up all night thinking of that one.
We can't do better than that.
Oh, we could. We haven't named it yet.
Why would it be called anything different?
All right, episode 2. Trying to find a name.
Okay.
What do you want to call it? You want to call it Beer and a Tuesday?
No, not the
Hoppin'
As in hops in the beer.
Hoppin' Boppin' Boys.
Popcast.
Poppin' Boppin' Boys.
Yeah.
You remember?
That's us.
I see all these podcasts and they have these slick titles.
Oh, my God.
I don't want to be slick.
The
Chill in the-
Joe Rogan experience.
Okay, that's not slick.
How about
Well, that started as a show. I'm pretty sure he wasn't doing his podcast as the Joe Rogan Experience, but he carried that over to a podcast. So that's like a very old.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, it was like some TV show where he was like exploring big ideas.
Well, what was his podcast called then? The Joe Rogan podcast?
No, he made a podcast and just carried the old title into it.
Right.
Oh, okay. So even the original old, like really crappy podcast, it was called the Joe Rogan.
I think.
Okay.
wow? We could be the podcast where we just talk about other people's podcasts. Probably the whole time, honestly.
That's out there.
If that's not out there, then
That's out there.
Oh, that's out there.
Yeah, podcast reviews or something.
the
Podcast reviews?
The podcast.
Yeah, I mean, why not?
Well, this is episode 2.
Bada bing.
Where did we leave off?
I think we left off basically
Modern day.
get up to 2019, like when I had just kind of come into the picture here, and we set a good stopping point, and then we would kind of transition into telling the story of this last year, kind of how we've gotten through this craziness, and then kind of where we're going.
Love it.
You know,
I'll start.
do it.
I think a appropriate place to start was basically right before you came in. We still had been doing almost all one-offs. We call one-off sales, where whether it's a new customer or a repeat customer, they're hiring us for a specific project, and then that's it. That's a quote, invoice, done. And we knew that in order to scale and just sort of grow and have margin to invest into the original content that we wanted to make, we need some sort of regular money. And it was timed pretty much right around that same time, right before you, that we got our first monthly client. That it's not necessarily a retainer model. The services are specified, and in this case, there's 3 dedicated team members to this client. But that was a game changer because it allowed us to have enough regular money that we could count on to sort of build off of that and continue growing the business. So we quickly started to plan out, what does that look like for other clients, and what is it that we can do on a regular, ongoing basis, and that developed into the concept of story acceleration, which is taking the power of storytelling, which we were using for so many clients in their marketing, and just in their marketing. But then the further we would dive in with these clients, we'd see that they sometimes had needs for internal only videos and training films and stuff that would really help build their culture. And that's we had an aha from that, saying, oh, story is powerful all across the board. It's not just for marketing. It's an accelerator.
Part of that aha moment was definitely the feedback that the company was giving when we were, this is what we do. We tell interesting stories, and it's just training stuff. and they were like, wow, this is the best videos we've ever seen. This is so amazing. And we're like, it's just you in the factory. Like, it's like, it wasn't any glamorous content, but the way we presented the story was thoughtful and patient, and every shot looked amazing, and
right.
all these things were like, wow, even for an internal operations where they're not putting this on TV, they're not putting this on their website, it's providing so much value. And so then we were like, let's dig in deeper and see, could every company do that?
Yeah, and we were still employing documentary filmmaking skills, like you said, patient, good B-roll, good storytelling, an actual arc to the story, and treating it like it was important. And that's key. It's like there's no type of content that we make that we can just mail it in. Like using the principles of story acceleration and the craft of good filmmaking is obviously important across everything that we make. But that really was the time that started to clue us in that there are a sizable potential partners out there that will accelerate if we added our expertise with storytelling to the stories that they were writing with their everyday lives.
Is that a good definition of story acceleration partnerships? Do you want to just give a definition of
it? Plug right here in the middle of the podcast.
Well, I just mean I feel like people will piece it together.
Yeah.
Just to be super clear.
A story acceleration partnership. So we partner with, and we use that word particularly, clients really moved into partnerships. So this is an ongoing relationship where we sit down and do a deep dive into sort of an assessment of where you're at with your culture, your operations, and of course your marketing, sales. And we kind of look at those like the three pillars that really is the biggest portions of business. And after a customer takes this assessment, it's a 30-question assessment, it kind of points out, and especially if multiple leaders in the organization take it, and we can kind of compare notes, we are able to sort of see where the gaps are, where the areas of opportunities are. And for every one of those areas of opportunity, there are corresponding, let's call them a prescription of storytelling film types that we have that will almost inevitably boost and help that area. And so we continually take this assessment over time. And it may be as simple as increasing sales, increasing brand awareness in the marketplace, but it may also be like pointing out that your culture needs help, and we come up with ideas on how to do that, and then how to accelerate that, showing the growth that's happening through stories about culture. And same thing with operations. As companies grow, it's often that training becomes an actual problem. You have the guy or the gal that did it really well, and unless that person is training everyone and training them the same way every time, you're not scaling properly. So doing it with really engaging storytelling films is a great way for it to be, I don't want to say timeless, but certainly have a lot longer shelf life and scale more easily.
Yeah, and I think it's the difference between the one-off model where a client comes to us and says, hey, we need this video, can you do it? They already have an idea and a concept that they're just looking for someone who can execute on for the most part. Maybe there's a little bit of development on our end to help flesh that out, but for the most part, they have a specific idea coming into the relationship. Whereas story acceleration, we are part of we're the guiding force in the ideation of what you need, what's gonna help you the most. So it's a collaborative process where we're really grafting ourselves into your organization so that we really learn all about you so that we can consult and guide that along. And so it's a much more holistic consultation type process than just, hey, we're filmmakers who will get what's your idea and we'll make it happen.
Right.
That's still part of it.
Oh yeah.
But there's so much more to it than just that.
Yeah, and quite frankly, not to just toot our own horns, but I have never seen anything like it with other filmmakers.
I've never seen anything like us.
Never. never experienced anything like us.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I will talk to other filmmakers and who are really wanting to get out of just being seen as like people with cameras, like a video production crew, and the storytelling, the pre-production, the vision, the outlines. You know, someone's going to take the lead on that, and if it's not us, the client will. And
Right.
it doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. It's just, I think a lot of people have the desire to create something from start to finish, but ultimately we have to know why we're making it ahead of time and spend the time up front before we just show up with cameras.
Yeah, and especially now, that's what's need more than I need someone who knows how to make a video. People need that bigger holistic approach. I need people who know how to tell a story. And I know people who know how to like understand me and my story and my organization and how to tell it in a way that's going to be compelling to my audience. Because it used to be that if you just had enough money as a filmmaker and you could invest in the gear and the software, you could do it. You could make videos. That was kind of the barrier for a long time. And then
just selling that, like, you need video.
Here's
video,
why.
yeah.
And it was just very templated, very like, here it is. And that is long gone, because anybody with even a couple $100 or an iPhone can make really nice looking high quality images.
Yeah.
And so it's not about that anymore. It's about the separator is not the ability and the access. It's now the craftsmanship, the artistry, the the creativity, what makes you unique. Can you tell a story? Can you enter into an empathetic place with your client to like understand what they really need? That's the difference, and that's what story acceleration really
and
brings.
it's engagement. Like, I mean, I'm just so sick of watching corporate videos that as soon as I see it, as soon as I hear that exact like music, it's like the same
delay guitar.
the same
That's what I'm
it's like
trying
they
to
use the
emulate.
same I don't know, program or instrument or whatever. You hear that exact like the
Audio Jungle. When they don't take it out, they don't
That's even
purchase the
better.
song.
Or I like it when they use the
Audio
stock loops that are in like iMovie.
yeah
You know,
Even better.
Da-da-da. There's like one that I hear all the time. It's just royalty free, and they just slap it in there.
We can make
Yeah.
fun of it because we've done it.
yeah. So I mean, even just like watching that, you just want to like turn it off. You know, like like I would even in the past doing corporate videos show it to someone and like, look at my work that I did, that this looks so good, and then they're like, okay, what are they even like? It's just mumbo jumbo, right? Like there's no engagement into any story whatsoever of, you know, oh cool, they're selling a printer. Like, why would I care? Like, did this change something in the industry? Did this take the last dollar of the founder to create it? Did this whatever? You know, like there is a backstory to every, and I think a lot of our clients will be like, oh yeah, we just want a talking head, or we want something simple, or we just want to really show a little product off, and then we say, okay, we can do it, but can we
Is
do
there
it
more?
better?
Is there more to it?
Is there like
and
a
not everyone
better-
gets that, and that's
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not everyone understands like the difference between being vulnerable and telling an authentic story.
That's really hard. A lot of CEOs is like everything's pre-scripted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you're like, hey, well, but hold on, like, you know,
and the
like,
marketing director will come to us and be like, oh, our CEO is great. He'll say anything we tell him to.
But they're always so aspirational. Like, they know what they want the company to be perceived.
It's
How
like,
they want it to be
exactly.
perceived.
How do you break out of that to be like, no, you as
I think only
Fill
evidence that it's helping you build trust in the marketplace will break you out of that paradigm. Until you,
Well, evidence that they're actually doing what they're saying they're doing.
yeah, I mean, if speaking like me as a leader, it's not easy to just bare your soul and be vulnerable in authentic stories and just be like, oh, here's where we screwed up, or here's we learned some things here, and it's not just easy to do that.
No.
But when you do that, and you see that you're actually building genuine fans and people who really trust, you can see that their trust is increasing in the market. That's good positive feedback. You can you want to do more. You want to be more genuine, and you can trust the process a little bit more when you do get that feedback.
Yeah,
cycle.
you have to know where you're going. So if it's scary to say, oh, just be vulnerable, it's like, well, you have to have an endpoint in mind, which is like the conflict of the story that like I feel like that's been really eye-opening to me, is like pointing that out. Like if your story doesn't have that, then it's all just accomplishment, and it's jumping towards the resolution and the ending too quickly, and then people don't have a reason to really care.
Right.
But it can't be. It's like it can't be all one thing. So I feel like for a lot of leaders, they'll hear, oh, vulnerability or oh, conflict. They're like, I don't want to talk about that. But it's like, well, we have to know that there's a resolution in mind. Like we're not just like, hey, tell me the worst thing you've ever done.
Well, and it's not even just the worst thing you've ever done, but even the embellishments. Like we're so tempted to do little embellishments.
Oh yeah, and we can really manipulate an audience for like being filmmakers. Like there's a responsibility to like tell the truth and to do it in a real way, like because it's not hard. You just put some music under it, and it's like suddenly the villain is everyone loves him.
Especially when you're on a podcast like this with hundreds of thousands of listeners,
and the villain is to your right.
You want to make sure that you're being truthful, speaking.
You think this is going to be an underperforming podcast then? Because
no, I'm
only hundreds of thousands.
Honestly, no, I'm not. I don't want to say. I don't want to embellish. I don't want to say it's a million.
Box.
I'm picturing
I don't want to
millions,
say
but
millions. No, but it's not.
Like, subscribe, hit the bell, you know.
right here, point like just say,
yeah, slap that subscribe, smack it,
that.
Smash the subscribe,
smash that like button,
smash subscribe,
Destroy it.
Hashtag smash subscribe.
Join our text line.
Well, I think that a lot of this too.
Join our group chat.
I think what we come up against a lot
Come over
too
to my
is,
house. My
oh
address.
my god, yeah. All right. I thought we were done with that.
It
little
starts.
tangent. I think what we come up against a lot too is that this is kind of a new way of thinking, especially in the arena of like the corporate world, business world, where not every business is totally in tune where your emerging kind of market is the way they're thinking. You talk about this all the time, like younger people, younger consumers. So if you're talking about 18 to 35 right now, these are people who are a lot more buyer conscious. They're a lot more concerned with like the specifics of what they're buying and the companies they're buying from.
Yeah. They want to know that like where they get X product came from a company that's doing something positive, like on average. Like,
more people are concerned about what the power of their dollar.
And it's easier to figure that stuff out now.
Yeah. So are you green? Are you whatever? All these things that people are way more concerned with. And then you can tell when big companies are doing like their market analysis and they see the data that consumers they care about that, so they just kind of slap that stuff out there, just to say it, just to like check that box, like,
Just pandering.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, we're green, we're socially conscious, whatever it might be, and you can always tell when it's a company that's like, oh no, this is legit, this is something they're passionate about.
Dude, we saw that with COVID. That was so,
oh my God.
That was so in your face. Like people who don't care about filmmaking at all would, tell me, I'm so sick of these commercials. I'm so sick of hearing about how they're here for us, all the emails from every airline, from every person.
It's
like,
just trendy. It's trendy.
In
like,
this difficult time.
okay, can you fault the first?
We're in this together.
The first company that did it, like, oh, they're being nice.
Right?
And there's like the next 20, it's like, you guys hope you go under.
I know.
Here's what we're doing.
I'm never buying Subway again.
Right. And it's not to say
Don't
that
do
all
it
of that was
anyway.
disingenuous, but it's like,
Yeah, true.
if it feels like you're doing it because it's what you should do, you feel like it's something you should do, then I think people are going to see right through that, as opposed to just being honest about the things that you are passionate about or that you do want to support and like
Exactly. Like companies are usually behind on like where culture is, so they're always playing catch up. So then by the time they put something out there, like culture's already shifted to a new thing, and they can't keep up. And then you get a bunch of eye rolls, and people expose that and are like, hey, you're not being completely honest or genuine here. So then authentic and genuine and all that stuff becomes like buzzwords.
Right.
And for people who are master manipulators, just take that and they're like, oh, how can we seem to the market like we're doing this thing?
It's like the whole companies are sociopaths, like how like
A lot of really successful people, it's like, you don't have to be a good person to be successful.
It's funny that they analyze like the what was it, the structure and the mindset and the personality of corporate entities as a whole, and they say they closely reflect sociopaths because they are so void of empathy and emotion. But in my opinion, some of my favorite, corporate videos or big client videos are collaborations where Starbucks, New Balance, Reebok, whatever, they go to the community and they just find some artists and they do a collab. And those are so cool.
And how it goes is how it goes.
Yeah, and they're just fresh.
Yeah, show
awesome.
what you're actually doing. Don't just lip service with your brand. Like, actually show a story of how you engage with your community, how you made some change. Like, even you're not hawking a product in that. You're not. Words. Yeah, you're not just it's even more authentic if you're not putting that story out there to sell something. Like, you're just saying, hey, here's what we cared about and we did it, and then you're developing. Your fans, you're developing people who are connecting with that same cause and say, you know what, next time I'm going to get a coffee, instead of going to Dunks, I'm going to go to Starbucks because, you know what I mean?
Affinity groups. A great example of that is Patagonia. You go to Patagonia's film page or their stories page, and they have 40-something short films.
Yeah.
All outdoors, beautifully shot, great little documentary.
And it's just what is already there. What's real that's already there.
And no one's looking at one video that they did where they checked the box and was like, oh, there's our outdoorsy video. No, they had 40 beautiful films that they're continually pouring money into. Yeah. And their fans love them for it. I mean, some of them are award-winning. They're really great, beautiful films.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's starting to look at content creation as a company, not as a investment that you're looking for direct ROI on necessarily in the short term, but rather it's a budget item that you're factoring into just what you do as a brand.
Yeah.
It's how are we telling our story regularly with consistency and not looking for we invest X in it and we get Y right away, but rather we know this is going to grow us holistically over time.
And you know how many millions and millions of dollars companies spend on a slight logo tweak, redesign, brand, the thought.
Yeah, because
behind
the market,
the message they're sending.
They like circles now.
Yeah, it's
it's
if you spend that much on truly your image of what people view you as. Well, is this not an extension of that? If for no other reason than to sell something, or you're not putting it out there to just advertise.
Yeah.
What if you're making art and you're making things that are an extension of your brand and what you believe is true and important? I feel like they should spend equally as much money.
I think it's a difficult time. I want to have some empathy for these big corporations.
No.
Nope. It's a difficult time because there is a whatever you want to call it, cancel culture or whatever, but in a time when people feel like they need to be more politically correct, it's because they're afraid that certain people, groups or whatever, will just say, oh, you did it the wrong way, or that's not the right way. So it's actually really difficult to be vulnerable. It's probably more difficult to be vulnerable now than ever before. True vulnerability.
Yeah, because it feels like all of society is just waiting.
Just waiting.
It's
waiting to pounce.
It's more difficult if you have things to expose, which we all do, and I think that's part of the point. But it's more difficult to be vulnerable as a company when maybe you're not actually standing for these things and that you're saying that you stand for, and you're not showcasing that. And honestly, people I think appreciate that, saying, "Wow, we didn't actually see this as an issue before. Now we do, and now here's what we're gonna do to change it. Now we've been wrong, that. Mm-hmm. That's not easy for sure. That's not easy to say.
And you see so little of that.
Yeah.
But where you do and where people are genuine, it's powerful.
Yeah, I mean, think about if a politician, for example, or a company, whatever, that makes a mistake because they're human, but they actually just own up to it.
Right.
And that doesn't happen.
And they just said,
be realistic.
Just say,
what planet are you on?
I'm saying imagine.
Is this the imagination podcast?
Imagine with me for a second.
Imagination.
I mean, we all have pretty vivid imaginations, but this
all right,
stretch.
But it's like
I'm not seeing it.
I can't. It's like whenever anyone makes a mistake, you just deny till you die. And it just makes it so much worse.
Tap on the haters,
because there's no trust, and then the ability to regain any semblance of trust is just out the window after that, because if I know you did this thing that was wrong, and then you just lie about it. So anything else in the future, I just can't trust. And it's because, and we're talking about like businesses, whatever it might be, but all of that is just the rules of relationship. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, if you're treating your audience or consumer base any differently than you would any other relationship, that's a problem.
Going down the wrong
It's like,
path.
oh, how do we build trust? It's like, well, how do you build trust in a friendship?
Yeah.
Right.
Or with your wife or your husband or whatever. Like, you just don't lie.
Tell the truth.
Apologize when you're wrong. Like, do good things. Be selfless. Like, these are things that are true between any two human beings, and so they're true across the board. And that's what we mean when we say authentic storytelling is applying those relationship principles to your business or your organization, whatever it might be. That's how you really stick out and
Well, yeah, and the key with like saying authentic, like I think about this a lot because it is a buzzword, and for some people it's extra difficult because, I mean, if you are authentic and you really know who you are, where you're going, and why, and it's a part of like doing good in the world, then it's like, well, there you go, you get a great story. But if somebody is not kind of there yet, like they're not really in the process of like sort of self-actualizing, so to speak, that word doesn't mean anything. And that's when it gets scary. And and then it starts to get deep, and we seem like philosophical, like therapists. Like I've like had these types
trying
of
to make
conversations.
people understand what you mean.
Yeah, because then I'm like, it started when we started saying like, hey, we want to talk about why you do what you do.
We're like, Mike, why are you on the
people would be
phone
like,
for 5 hours straight with that client? Like, what happened?
They're like, what do you?
Why are you crying?
What do you mean? What do you mean? Why? I'm like, well, what? Why do you get up in the morning? Why do you do this? Because it's a better service. It good. You're like, what?
Money.
Yeah, and it's like, well, for what? What do you want to do? So
what do you want to do with the money?
You started like unpacking that, and then you realize like people are like, be authentic, be authentic. It's like, if you don't know who you are, that means basically to look at what other people are doing and try to match that.
Yeah, they take it like be relatable.
Well, that's the whole sociopath mindset.
Yeah,
just trying to like.
So that's
normal.
That's something that it's like, man, sometimes it ends up being, a deeper conversation than you set out for. And like, to me, that's like, that is like where I get energized. I'm like, yes, like meaningful conversation. Let's go. Like, that's the only thing that sets us apart from animals. Like we're like, we actually are like having real conversations. And then, hopefully there's a good story to tell in there. And then you're kind of in the process of like almost, I don't know, helping someone really kind of set goals and talk about things that they don't all the time. And it's like, that's what people are really interested in at the end of the day. Like, people are not interested in like, you just make you have something to sell and you talk about it and then that's it. And I mean, maybe in like very select markets or something, but you're probably not going to talk to like storytellers or filmmakers if you're just going to do like a targeted quick ad or something.
So basically we went from just selling to having these conversations where we were like, let's do this across the board.
Like, how many emails did I send? Like, dude, we noticed you could really use a video. Like,
yeah, I know. And then the pandemic hit.
Well, no, I'm not.
There's a lot.
Wait. Am I jumping ahead?
Big time.
No, not really.
Well, now
spoiler
alert. Now they know there's a pandemic.
Oh my gosh.
It's been downgraded to an outbreak.
Has it?
The CDC says it's no longer a pandemic.
Are you talking about swine flu?
What year is it? Is that true?
Time work? Yeah.
So is it a global outbreak?
I don't know.
How's that? I don't know what the terms mean.
Now we're really dating this thing. So.
Wow.
Interesting.
Oh my god.
Well, what dreams did we have for this year initially? January comes around.
So
we definitely wanted a new space.
Yeah, let's catch this up. So I came into Votary in May of 2019, but then didn't start working here till November of 2019, full time. And
to prove yourself.
And I had to just prove myself through authentic storytelling.
Authentic blood sacrifice.
And
brotherhood.
We we were talking a lot about every time you bite that apple.
Oh my gosh.
Go on.
Steven, can you hit the juicy button? Where is it?
Why you don't need the juicy button? It's
No,
right there. Jono.
We really don't. Oh, there it is.
Juices.
I swear people are going to think that's something.
Who made that? Who made that?
All right, there's nothing perverted about that.
it
That
was-
was just. Yep, see? They know. They know.
Wow,
This is what happens when we get a new toy
Off the
in
rails.
the office. Okay,
Wow. All right, that's your quota.
You killed it. You killed it.
Steven wanted to become a character.
It was funny earlier.
All right,
He's like, I'm
continue,
in.
Cody.
Guys.
All
I'm
right.
just kidding.
So
hilarious.
started working, and oh my god, this has to be the last one.
That's bats.
They're just
Oh, crickets.
bats.
Bats. Okay, I'm going to tell it for you.
Juices. Are you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Cody,
Cody
hear it from Corey's perspective.
Cody came in and instantly saw a lot of room for improvement.
He was so mean. Why are those wires in the water with the dog on them?
No, truthfully, it was awesome because you jumped in with both feet and said, there's a lot of things that can be improved, and you knew how to improve them, especially with just kind of left brain order processes.
The right left brain thing has been debunked.
I know. It's a habit. It's a habit. But yeah, you moved into the integrator position, and you and I started working kind of side by side in that regard. To any of you listeners out there who haven't heard of EOS Traction, big plug and a shout out to Pete Martino, who's actually here today. He's
Align 360, right?
Yep, Align 360, awesome company. He's a EOS Traction implementer, and
Read the book Rocket Fuel.
yep, that's a great one. Traction is the original book by Jono Wickman,
Wickman, I think.
Wickman. And it's really great. It's just kind of classic. Why are we doing all this work and not getting anywhere? And it's a great framework that helps you focus and go after milestones every quarter. And as they call it, just get your team to row together in the same direction. So that's what we started doing. And Cody was super helpful in that regard. We started looking for a new place to move the office. And found this space that we're
Started
in.
looking a while ago before Cody ever came on. We actually looked at this place
Yeah, you're right.
a year before March, so it must have been 2019.
That still was 2019, but it was early 2019. And we looked at this space, and it didn't have floors or anything, so we were just like, the expense is too big. It's a really nice big place, great for a studio. We could see ourselves expanding into it, but it felt a little out of reach financially. And a whole year went by, almost a year. It was February of 2020 that we kind of came back, saw that it was still for rent, which was crazy because the city where we are, Worcester, is doing really well. It's expanding, and it's just kind of booming. So we came back, and to our surprise, it was still available. We made an offer, and it turned out to be really good. So we were able to sign a lease, and pretty much the week that we signed the lease, the news hit that the world was basically shutting down.
We were like, so much was happening at the same time, because like part of what gave us the confidence to take such a big step was that our sales prospects were huge. We had 3 or 4 jobs that were game changers lined up that were like
upper 6 figures.
Yeah,
we had over like $500,000 in the pipeline.
And
yeah.
and so we're like, all right, here we go. This is great. Like we're gonna ramp up this winter. We're gonna move into this new space.
We were concerned when we would find time to move in.
Mm-hmm.
When with all the work, when could we?
Right.
We had to upfit this whole place.
Yep.
And we had a lot of trades.
Tons of work. Yep. And so there was just like, it was super exciting though. And it was February 1st, 2020 that we signed the lease.
It was actually the end of February. Yeah,
But we
all I know is right after we signed it,
it wasn't long.
it was maybe a week, 10 days, and everyone we had just started to figure out how to get materials in here and whatnot, and the everyone went into lockdown, like at home, shelter in place. Contractors really didn't want to come out.
City inspections, things like that, all went away.
All sales other than our monthly clients disappeared.
Boom.
Which, I mean,
and it was a lot.
Thank you to our monthly
Yes.
clients. Which is
to our
kind
partners.
of miraculous.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
it's kind of
right there. It was just like everything we've talked about so far today. This idea of like partnership, relationship with our clients. Like if we needed proof that was the way to go, it was that.
And they, that's not just a one-way street. Us being able to continue to serve them was super timely for them too, because messaging is pivoting, and there's COVID messaging, and there's suddenly all this remote work, which needs a lot more video examples and whatnot, and live streams and this and that. So we got through, and it was both hard and good to have this physical space to focus on improving it and getting it all ready to move into once the lot. And so we really didn't, we kind of went split. Some of the companies sheltered in place. Some would come and work on it, and we did that for pretty much 2.5 months, 3 months.
It was like all of March, all of April.
I can't take any credit for this space.
But you still worked at home. Sales continued on.
Yeah, and I like had a whole like soul searching, like what am I doing, and like took that storytelling course, and then I came back. I'm like, guys, we got to talk about story structure and all this stuff, and started making LinkedIn videos, and which was really uncomfortable, but. Yeah,
it wasn't time wasted, I don't think, by anyone.
No, I'm just saying for this space, like I was blown away because I'm saying I can't take any credit for like anything in here because
definitely not.
I was just like at home trying to
wasting time,
just figure my life out.
I just thought of it now. I was like, I never said goodbye to the old office.
Oh, you weren't there.
Never saw us.
We took a photo.
Well, actually, I helped move from.
Actually, I wasn't even gonna take a photo. Cody snapped it.
Oh yeah.
He's like, stand right there. Took a photo. Said goodbye. Anyway,
Jed
our viewers don't care. Our listeners don't care about any of that.
Wow. We've become.
We're gonna have to disable those buttons.
We really need to come up with some more original sound bites.
Yeah. I actually think those ones are funny though. My old like cartoon sound effects. Anyway, well, do you guys want to go into any more detail of like of moving in here, or do you think that's interesting?
I think a good segue is
because I know you guys summed it up pretty well just now, but it's there's a lot of crazy.
We could reserve the actual detailed story for another day,
another video.
Maybe we'll put it on our Patreon.
I'll just say the cliff notes, the high level stuff is it was kind of a miracle because when all those sales disappeared and you suddenly don't have any cash and you've signed on the dotted line that you're taking over a space and you're committing, and it's a lot more money, and not only is it a lot more money monthly, but there's all the upfit costs, and somehow we had such good partners and clients and friends that we were able to do this whole upfit for minimum cash out, and just a bunch of doors opened that really kind of shouldn't open. It was kind of miraculous that we were able to just go from sort of one phase to the next and keep going in a time when it looked like many businesses were just shutting down.
Yeah, I mean, without giving the exact figures, what it should have cost us to do this, we spent maybe 10% of it to make it happen, which was just a series of small miracles.
So, we do have these partnerships, and we're so happy to be building them with awesome clients, awesome partners. It's a really wide variety of work to help companies grow holistically. And part of that process is developing what we kind of been calling brand-based entertainment. This isn't just, what we're making with our partners is not just, pretty much none of it is your standard corporate junk. It's stuff that we are entertained by beautiful docuseries and whatnot. And that's not just in an effort to grow with our partners, but also we're refining our craft for our own originals. So part of this, part of the vision of moving into this space is to go further into the sort of writer's mode and get into crafting our own original stories. So that there's a lot of filmmakers out there that say that they're looking to do that or make a short film on the side or maybe a feature one day or whatever. But I'm really happy and excited that we have a roadmap and a plan to move into crafting original stories and getting them out there to the world. And I guess the reason why I'm bringing it up is because I think that a good story says ahead of time, this is where we're going, and it'll help us document along the way exactly the road that gets us there, right? So I am just kind of going to bring up things like that in this podcast of like visional things that this is where we're going, this is what we believe in, and it may turn out a little different than the way I say it, but
it definitely will.
And
that's just the way things go.
It always does. It's always a little different.
Usually it's better than.
I'll be sure of it.
But I think that part of us being authentic and vulnerable with telling our stories is to give a realistic view of where our mindset is at in particular moments in time, and then we'll revisit it over time and say what was changed, how did we pivot, where are we going, and so I just got to say I'm part of the vision for this place is I'm just so excited about us developing original content, and that's actually the meeting that's coming in.
Where we are right now feels like the building block to get there. Like it feels like we were like moving into the space and getting our foundational basics down and our core values and who we are, and creating stories for ourselves like this podcast, doing the basics, and then getting the client work, and then go and actually create the content we want to create.
Yeah,
it definitely is not out of reach. But yeah, it's good to take a snapshot of where we are right now and be able to look back on it.
Yeah, I think it was only a week or two ago that we settled on our tagline, which is meaningful stories. And that is the case with our partners and with the stories that we're writing, stories that are important to us. And so maybe with that, anybody else have anything else they want to talk about?
No, I think it's a good stopping point. We can talk more about a little bit more detail of getting into this office, and then also like our vision for this physical space. How we see it like playing a role in
getting in was easy
with the Votary collective, and in
oh my god, I hate Jono. He's
so a couple hammer swings and we were in. So there's nothing much to say there.
What gives me the most joy in my life
is watching Jono make me so mad.
It's just so, I don't know why. It's just like eating a brownie for me. I'm like, this is so
he's so annoying because it's not like it's not clever. It's
okay.
No, it's just dry.
You just gotta step it up. Yeah, because I've always really appreciated sarcastic, dry humor, and getting to know Jono. I didn't know that he was so like
stupid,
dry and sarcastic until probably 6 months into knowing him. So,
anyways, point being, I think a good next thing to talk about would be our vision for this office and like the bigger picture of, kind of becoming a hub of the filmmaking community here is a big goal. So
it's a huge goal.
Love it.
Play us out, boy.
There's a lot of ground to cover. Next episode we're gonna get.
But episode 2. I think we're wrapped. You want me to play the?
Doing it up.
I don't know if the.
Yeah.
All right, subscribe now, follow us on Instagram, Votary Films.
Smash that like button.
Yo, slap that. Really, that we don't have any.
I can't because I don't have the thing.
Assault that like button.
That was pretty good beatboxing, I guess.
Yeah. All right, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Votary. Votary. Goodbye.